Hey there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopp on alongside our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut, Gabe Maynor again behind the scenes here. I'll try to get all my monitors kind of out of the way. We're trying to get everything in place. Talking with Gabe, and we've been working on some technical things. We think we might have finally gotten some things fixed. We do have another contingency plan to get it there if we need to. But the big part of the reason we're back on now here is because of the potential for what we do think is icing that could become more significant for some spots over the next little bit here. We think we might have our first convective band coming in. And I do want to bring in both our meteorologist Gabe Maynor and Caleb Edelblut as we are kind of looking at things here. Power outages continue. Gabe, hearing a few minutes ago, pretty good big boom, and I think that's a common occurrence, unfortunately, with a lot of folks around the area. Caleb, you're down there in Oktibbeha County. Things have not gotten quite as rough. We'll talk to you in a moment. But Gabe, I do want to start with you again. We lost you for a little while. We got you back. You just got off the phone with the mayor of Saltillo, and that's a very colorful map behind you with a lot of different individual outages. So let's start with you. Let's start with power outages. Let's start with what you know.
Well, the latest development that we do have is with the amount of outages, especially in the Saltillo area. If I just zoom in right there, you can see that we have up to 120 outages in the community. I'm not going to be shocked if more folks are going to be affected within that and make that number increase. So because of that, I just got off the phone with Kofi Grantham, the mayor here in Saltillo, and he was letting me know that the warming center is going to be open here in the next few moments. They do have cots there and they do have generators there. The only thing that they recommend is bringing blankets to stay warm, but they are going to be opening that up. And where that is located, it's at the Saltillo City Park. If you go behind the tennis courts, there's this community center right there. Good parking lot, a lot of spots in there. So if folks need to head out there, now's the time to do so, because I think that if your power is not out yet, more than likely this next band is probably going to be the one that knocks out a good percentage of us, including I'm preparing for it, probably the Maynor household as well. So I'm fingers crossed on that, but kind of expecting this to be the most significant band that we've seen so far.
Yeah, and you mentioned, just the reports coming in from the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. I'm not going to talk about folks at home here for a moment. Let's just talk about the North Mississippi Storm Chasers and our chat with them. And I'm just going to roll back in here. We've been kind of working through technical stuff. It's been kind of an incredible run. So I'm gonna go back to, let's see what time that is. Even 10:22 there. The reports, taken from my house, trees are cracking, sounds like explosions from Justin, that'd be in Pontotoc County. David, power went out about 34 minutes. You can hear tree limbs breaking, that'd be in the Pine Valley area there close to Yalobusha County. A lot of people commented, won't happen. And here we go. Just lost power. Shane, I believe, is Union County. Heavy sleet in southeast Lafayette. Fastest rates we've seen so far. Tishomingo County pulling all their crews until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. This is, a pretty rough set there. And I'm still a half hour ago on some of these. Everybody's dark. Justin, trees snapping all around me. And this is, I think, a shared experience from a lot of spots. Jonathan, who lives in the hurricane community, says, I just heard gunshots for the first time now and that my power's off. Transformers blowing. Multiple outages, and this is just a group of guys that chase tornadoes. So I understand trees falling all over Oxford and Lafayette. Colby is a sheriff's officer there in Lafayette County. It's bad. Freezing rain, obviously, with this. Pine trees are going to be the most susceptible, and I think I'm all caught up on where things are now. Brian up there. Well, let's start with Brian, because Brian lives pretty much here. This is Brian's tower. Let's see if we even have power. We do. And maybe we're better off. We need to take a picture of that. That's not Brian's house. The tower's up top of Brian's house there. But we're looking out of our camera there in, this would be Alcorn County. And again, heavy icing continuing to kind of build up there. Man, Jacob, let's give Jacob Hopkins a round of applause. Nothing going on in Fulton there. You are the lucky one. I bet almost everyone else who's had power outages, trees snapping and falling, would trade places with you in a heartbeat. Power out Duck Hill, power out Stewart Hill, power out Hester Road in Mathiston. Just lost power in Pontotoc, Nixon community off Highway 9. I mean, the list can and will go on. So let me say this as loud and clear as I can. If your power is out, there's not really a lot you can do. No information I'm going to give you is going to make you feel more comfortable. In fact, the information I give you is only going to end up making you probably less comfortable. So, this is, I believe information is empowering, but it depends on how it's being used. If you're getting information just to feed a fear, I need to know, sometimes we're not going to know. You're not going to know if that there are going to be trees out there that are still standing by the time this is done. You don't know when your power is going to come back on because power crews are coming back, being pulled from the field by the people in charge. Because, I mean, Gabe, pull up that picture again from Fort County, if you can, Gabe. I need to see that picture from Fort County. We're going to see that after we talk to our Caleb Edelblut, who is down there in Starkville area. Caleb, you might be the one with the most sanity down there, and you were the first one that I saw live with a tree down. If you had anything else since then.
Thankfully, no. And I wanted to come out here just to kind of show what's going on because I've shown the tree in the backyard, and thankfully, I mean, I don't have much else to show. That's kind of occurred earlier during the batch in the afternoon when some of that rain came through, that ice started building up, and already saw it drooping a tree, some limbs snapping and falling. I could hear them while I was standing out in the back, and it's just those eerie, loud snaps that you just hear and can kind of shock you. But I wanted to come out in the front this time. I'm staying home. I'm staying put this weekend. But just to show you that this rain that we're experiencing, the soft drizzle, it's dripping and landing out there in the flower bed, and that's a good thing. It's not freezing. We're not seeing those icicles form. So just showing that we're still staying above freezing here in the Golden Triangle region. Now, how long will these conditions last, and will models try to push it? That is still the question as we continue into the overnight hours for our Sunday. But for right now, it is a good thing seeing all that rain continue dripping off of the house. We're not seeing it build up on anything. In fact, I have our car's out there in the front, so it's not next to those trees with those limbs falling on it. So definitely some good news to see. No frost really forming on anything or icicles. So definitely good news as we continue into our Saturday night and prepare for our Sunday ahead.
Well, hopefully that little bit of warming has kind of helped you guys out, saved you from worse, because it does seem like you are definitely some of the lucky ones. That's our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut down there in the Tillahaw County area. Hey, I know you're hearing me as I go away from you, Caleb. If you want to post some stuff behind the scenes, great. If you want to call it a night, that's just fine as well. We're going to be up here a little bit longer. We're not going to be up all night long, let's be clear, but we'll be out here a little longer. So I'll let you go in if you would like to, post some things, if you kind of show some things. I'd appreciate that. But obviously, I have zero problem with you shutting it down. Here are the power outages, and this is by percentage by county. And we have many counties here where almost 30-40% on the power outages of people. And I'll be clear, this tends to lag behind actual power outages. When we look at some numbers there for a moment, you're about 500 we show there, Carroll County, Montgomery County about 500, 1,500 there in the Webster County area, Choctaw County about 1,000 there, Tillahaw County about 1,000 in Oxford. So far, it looks like our prime amounts up there closer to say Iuka and Tishmingo County, one of our larger amounts in this part of the state. But I mean, the thing is that, if you have a big line of wind that comes through, you might really rack up widespread significant power outages. With an ice storm, it's a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. And so you nickel and dime it, and that's what takes so long to put it back on. If it's just one big main line there, then you get it fixed and you bring a whole bunch of folks back on. And this is one of the things Gabe will talk about here in a minute. When it's so spread out, that's just not the way this plays out. One of the concerns that we have and have talked about a lot is the convective end of it. And this little band that we have here from Algoma to Okolona, I'm going to put this in motion. This little ripple here is kind of borderline. It's certainly really kind of heavy. It's fairly organized. If I take off what we call the precip mask, where it shows that, you can see it has at least some sleep in it. It's a little more unstable than some other spots. And so that's a pretty decent band of freezing, whatever it ends up being, as it moves in. And so that ice, as our meteorologist Gabe Maynor so showed effectively a little bit ago, one of the things that obviously is of peak significance. Gabe joins us here again live, and Gabe, again, that picture that you have there is just, I mean, kind of scary. I mean, not just kind of scary, like really scary when you think about the fact that that is just, I mean, yeah, that could have been people dead. There could have been workers dead, and
Easily, yeah.
that's why the cooperatives are pulling people out of the field in some cases.
Yeah, and so Four County, I know, is pulling some of their workers. There was another power company, I wish I could remember off the top of my head, that they're pulling their crews until 7 a.m. just because of their safety. You don't need to be out and about in this mess, especially when the mess isn't done being a mess and only getting worse from here. So, yes, what you're getting right there is one of the Four County trucks that actually had a tree fall on the truck. I mean, this is a pretty significant. Let's hope we can get that other picture in. There we go. So there you're getting a look. I mean, it looks like one of those forgotten about vehicles that were just left out in the woods for a long period of time. But no, that was just how significant that tree was that fell on top of that vehicle. And this is down, I mean, Four County, it's Golden Triangle. That's well south of where those peak threats were expected to be, but still impactful. It doesn't take it being the peak for it to be impactful. So stay out of the roads. Stay away from the trees if you can. I'm kind of scared to death right now because this room that was our nursery, which I might rethink the nursery at this point, is right next to a tree. And I keep hearing cracking outside, and I'm just praying, God, please let this roof stay up. I don't want anything to fall through it and just catch me off guard, and then we have to deal with that. So, saying a prayer, hoping for the best, but just glad that everyone's okay with this circumstance. No injuries or deaths to report so far, and that's always ideal whenever we're dealing with events like this.
Well, and we didn't say zero threats. You start talking about peak threats on this here. Where we've had the maximum icing, and that's kind of the crazy thing about the scenario. This is such a high-end ice storm versus, hey, we might have some ice. Hey, we might have some ice. That I think what would have typically been the peak of another ice storm, icing situation, falls into an ice mix versus this large area where we have peak threats there. So. Yeah, and this is we tried to fight this narrative the last few days that you were into peak threats or you were fine, and that was never the explanation we intended. So again, thoughts, prayers with those folks that are still challenged with this. We'll look at some of those sporadic power outages. I want to see again some of those areas, some of the targeted areas where we have some of those power outages with our meteorologist Gabe Maynor here in a moment. Icing continues to be the concern. Power continues to drop out. And this band that we show here from Abbeville, stretching there back toward Pontotoc, is going to add, again, some significant additional icing for many locations there. You also continue to share your photographs with us. Again, we would largely encourage, I'm going to show some here, we'd largely encourage you guys to stay inside and stay safe, because obviously we have concerns there. But we're going to show some pictures. Nonetheless, these coming in here from Ripley, some of the power lines submitted at 11:33. And appreciate, this has been Ryan for sharing of this photograph here, again, of some of those power lines, again, completely coated. And with all the freezing rain dripping off, just those icicles, a sign that things are not well. Another shot here, sagging power lines in Ripley. William with this picture here. Yeah. That's about as saggy as I've seen them so far. Again, two ways in which that power gets knocked out. One way is the power lines themselves snap and break, but the more likely scenario typically is that tree limbs like this come down. And what kind of tree do you think that is? Looks like that's probably a pine tree. We talked about we were going to have issues with pine trees. I do want to ask Gabe this real quick. I'm going to double box you and I'm going to come back and do a couple more pictures. But I want to check with you on this because this was my question. What kind of tree is that one that's dangling over the house?
It is a sweet gum tree, but it's had its fair share of issues. It was dead whenever we bought the house, or dying. Came back to life this past summer, and it looked great, but seemed healthy. I think it's doing good so far, but Annalise did tell me she heard a massive crack come out of it, so thought I heard another crack. Oh, that sounded close. Okay, say a prayer, please, because I do not want that to happen.
Well, okay, real quick.
One big note, Matt, though.
Shall receive. Dear God,
Exactly. I'm hoping that we can make it. But whenever I was sitting here working behind the scenes after we wrapped the 10 o'clock shows about 11:09, just a boom off there in the distance. And like, I don't know what it exactly was. I can speculate as to what it was. And actually, I can speculate. I think I know what it might be. So, not too far away from us here in the Saltillo area, you see those outages, and that's 356. Whenever we looked at this about 5 minutes ago, this number was at like 130. So over doubled, nearly tripled the number of outages not too long after that boom took place. Very well could have been a transformer if some of those power lines decided to fall over. But folks at Tom Bigby, I mean, you can see, you mentioned it, a very colorful map and not in a good way. It's going to be busy. And crews don't need to be out right now. They need to let this threat pass just for them to be on the safe side, because these trees, they're falling left and right in a very sporadic fashion. It's not going to be like, oh, that tree, yeah, it's about to go. No, the ice, it has its limits, and every tree has a different limit. And, you know, you could be up working on a pole and all of a sudden the tree falls. So you don't want to chance it. You don't want to risk it. So it's just I don't know what it exactly was, but that's my speculation right now. But just praying for the best, praying that folks are okay. It's a lot of outages, and not only in Saltillo. I mean, you can see South Tupelo, just outside of Rona, 270, even in the Tupelo area. Honestly, not far away from our studio, so we could have tested the backup generator there, but they're at 130.
You know, here's the thing. Zoom that out just a little more. And this is kind of what I'm talking about on this, is that you see how it's not one, there are some larger outages, but it's a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. And that takes a lot of different independent crews to put it back. Not everybody working to get one big transmission line back on so that everybody gets it back. In some cases, maybe it's that simple, but in a lot of cases, that's a lot of man hours and takes quite a bit of time to see. Appreciate that, Gabe. Our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, again, kind of looking at that. Do you have any other power? I want to check on Tishomingo County when you get the chance.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay.
I can just pull it up.
Yeah. Go. Let's look at Tishomingo County. I'm going to work on something here for a moment, because I mean, more than 3,000 folks there in the county. What does that 4,000 that had that number a second ago? Go and click the affected button again. I think there was one of those buttons you had on the side there where it gave the total.
So
right there.
that is just over 4,500. We're talking 47, 4,800. Hang on a second. Hey, thank you. So, home studio, everybody. Matt has his kids. We have our fur babies, and they like making noise at 11 o'clock. So, apologize for that. They just want to get attention. Anyway, this is over 4,500 outages in Tishomingo County. And whenever we're looking at those specific groups, I mean, I can just go ahead and scroll, and you can see how many specific outages there are in Tishomingo County. All of these affecting 1, 2, 3, 20, 80, 100, all the way up to 500 outages, but just by one source. And so this is going to be continuing to affect multiple people overnight. So far, I wish I could sort it by duration, but some of the ones that stand out, you can see right there on the, it's a little bit blurry, I apologize for that, but I'll tell you that this one right here, that third one on the page, has been out for 5 hours and 49 minutes. The one right there under, the one right there above it, 4 hours and 42 minutes. And I'm sure there's more on there. But you want to talk about a cold, cold night is whenever your power goes out and crews are unable to get out there to take care of it until they're in a safe spot to go do so. And so we're going to see this number probably remain right around 4,000 unless, crews are doing an amazing job. I want to give them credit. But I hope that they're not out there doing this right now just because of their lives being put at risk. It's just not worth it. We can all bundle up. We can all add a couple of layers overnight, but I know we all want the power back, but understand these are lives that require that power to come back. And so understanding them, understanding their safety, and we can do our part to stay warm as well. So Tishomingo was a big one. Prentiss County was showing up with a ton in Boonville. Yeah, still seeing 695, including the heart of Boonville right there in the heart of downtown. So Blue Devil Nation dealing with that as well. Working their way up there just south of Kossuth. That's going to be 439 outages. That's more in the county area. And we've been seeing the icing up there all day. People have been sending pictures from Prentiss County. And yeah, it looked impossible to drive on. And I just assumed it was a matter of time until those ice accretion started happening more and more. Pontotoc was reporting. Don't do it. Pontotoc was reporting a few outages as well. I say a few, like it wasn't numerous. I mean, we can see right there in downtown Pontotoc. Well, let me not block it. 1,400 outages on this swath right there from South Pontotoc down around close to Springville, and then working its way northeast closer to Sherman, I believe. That's right there on the northeast side of Pontotoc County. So, oh my word, busy? Understatement of the year whenever we're talking about power outages.
So you definitely can't hear me while you're talking, by the way.
Yeah, no, I have no source. I'm so sorry.
So you can't hear me at all?
I can hear you now, but I have to stop talking. So
okay, so you need to turn your volume up then. But what I was going to say is, first off, I tried praying for you a minute ago, so I'll pray for you real quick. God, protect Gabe, protect these people, put a shield around them to keep trees from falling into people, give them good choices and thoughts and processes and what shrooms to be in to keep them safe. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. Meant to say this at the top of the 10 o'clock show as well. We'll get that in a second. The other thing I was going to say, expand out that sidebar there. Let's get a real number on the number of outages. It should tell you that the sidebar on the left-hand side there, it should expand out. And typically, it's not expanding more than that.
It is. I got to adjust my OBS real quick.
No, don't worry about that. If you want to, that's great. But ultimately, I'm just trying to figure out what the number is on the overall number.
3,878. And let me go back up to Prentiss. Prentiss County is 1,332. So between three counties, we are over 10,000 outages.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's bad. Meteorologist Dave Maynard, appreciate that. Keep looking. Let's look down there closer to the Golden Triangle. Let's get on 4-county site. Let's look there around Ackerman. Let's look at these folks down there here in a couple minutes. And we'll kind of go through that. Appreciate that. Current time is now 11:46 p.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Walpon alongside our meteorologist Gabe Maynard. This is something I did want to read at the top of the 10. We got distracted by, life. Let me see if I can find it back in here. A press release from FEMA, of course, that the Federal Emergency Management Agency and Department of Homeland Security. President Trump has approved emergency declaration for Mississippi. FEMA announced this today that federal disaster assistance is available to the state of Mississippi to supplement response efforts due to emergency conditions resulting from severe winter weather storm beginning yesterday and continuing. The president's actions authorize FEMA to coordinate all disaster relief efforts to alleviate the hardship and suffering caused by the emergency on the local population and to provide appropriate assistance to save lives, to protect property, public health, and safety, and to lessen and avert the threat of catastrophe in all of the 82 counties in Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians. Specifically, FEMA has authorized to identify, mobilize, and provide at its discretion equipment and resources necessary to alleviate the impacts of the emergency. Protective measures limited to direct federal assistance under the Public Assistance Program will be provided at 75% federal funding. That's not the people, that's, of course, the public entities there. All right. So President Trump has declared, basically allowing FEMA to come in and get their resources staged and everything that needs to happen along with that. So hopefully that means good things for us. Unfortunately, that we've been able to kind of help other places at other times recently, but it looks like people are going to have to come here to kind of help us pick back up the pieces. You're looking at a Mama Justice Doppler radar here at 11:47 p.m. I'm on the wide shot here. You show maybe a little bit more snowfall trying to show up in the northwest part of the state. Maybe that's a little optimistic thinking there. As I put this into motion, I want to show you again over the last 3 hours here. We've had some heavier bands that kind of roll on through, and again, this one of the heavier ones just kind of cleared up here around Tupelo in the last little bit. This one was Greenwood there, Grenada. And this one is the one where we've just kind of been that extra little bit, they say the straw that breaks the camel's back. That is the way this works on ice storms and trees. It's like there's just enough, it's holding on. If it stops, maybe it thaws, maybe it's fine. And then you add a little bit more, and that's just that. And so that is what's occurring with the trees right now. The unfortunate thing is we have a lot more straw still to come. I'll put this on the final scans here. on kind of our shot. As you can see, more back to the south and west. A couple of other very pronounced heavier bands back there in Texas. But my biggest concern remains what's coming out of the Gulf of Mexico here. And that's an open, warm Gulf of Mexico with that warm air moving northward. Warm air has more room for water vapor. And so warm and moist correlate with one another in this situation. That's the unfortunate thing. And it'll continue again to produce the icing situation that we have. And so when we're on this shot here, I'm going to need to check something, because if I look at my lightning, I'm not seeing my lightning showing up very big. And I might have shrunk the size on this too much. So give me a moment as we kind of put on this intensity. I'll tell you what it's been. It's been so long, I gotta remember how to put on my lightning on this. Isn't that crazy? We haven't had lightning in so long. I'm gonna see if we can make it a little bit bigger. See graphic display. I'm not sure a whole lot of lightning strikes, but I know they're there, and I'd really like to see them. So I'm gonna make them big. Now that I make them too big. Don't know why it's not showing up. We'll deal with that later. But we know we've got quite a few. Well, that is something. Gabe, you need to put that on a sticky note, figure out what's up with that. But you'll notice here, most of the lightning strikes are down south. I show 0 strikes in the map here. We slide south a little bit more, obviously down here south of Jackson. That is the case. And whatever this is near Brookhaven, as that cold air slipped down, that is thunder sleet, thunder snow, thunder something. And most of what we have up here north is trying to become some version of that. So let's look again at kind of the future cast. How much longer do you have? Because again, one of those heavier bands moving through Pontotoc and Lee counties at this point. Use something we haven't really shown here again. This is going to be future cast radar, which allows us to kind of look at where future radar, analyzes, over the next little bit. Again, that wave moves out. Another heavier one moving into Grenada, close to around 1240 or so. And if you're looking at the kind of the next heavier one for a lot of spots, we do go a little more sputtery overnight. Okay, but that's not a real weather term. But the point is when this goes broken, this is not the end. That is convective. Because if we walk it back, that's where, again, the greater chance to maybe have some thunder snow, thunder sleet, thunder yuck that goes with it. Let's go Storm Finder. A Mississippi Live Weather exclusive tool that we can use in this situation as we look and try to analyze where we're most likely to see some impacts there. I'm going to set this for 24 hours. That will get us through the next 24. I'm also going to slightly exaggerate the top on the lightning. I think it does a good job kind of drawing attention to the areas of concern. So as we do that, I can kind of go flat. You can see where it sort of sticks up. Where it sticks up, that's where we have a little bit more lightning. Again, we have it down south Mississippi, but you'll notice on our Storm Finder, again, a Mississippi Live exclusive product, it does show a little bit of that lightning potential. Again, we're not talking nonstop, summertime thunderstorms here, but a rumble here and a rumble there. And by the way, when we look at lightning on a Mississippi Live Mama Justice Doppler radar, that lightning we're looking at there is cloud to ground, not cloud to cloud. And a lot of times you have cloud to cloud lightning in these kind of winter weather setups as opposed to cloud to ground lightning. In either way, it is a sign of storm strength, or maybe I should say shower strength, and it is something that will continue. So we're looking 12:30 here in the morning. You see that batch works through, and we talked about how it looks splotchy. It's like, oh, maybe we're going to dry things out. Unfortunately, again, that batch has a potential for more lightning and potential maybe for some thunderstorms there. Continue to spill in, and a greater number that are potentially even strong to severe down here in South Mississippi. Because if you look here on storm chances, we also layer on top the odds of having storms. It's like the concentration of lightning and the odds of having storms, where there's the overlap there, where we know obviously it kind of draws our attention to where we have more areas of concern. If we kind of tilt it, you can kind of see where some of those spots are. And again, Golden Triangle, we will probably have a few lightning strikes with this, and the hope is that we're just above freezing there. You just see those little blips of yellow continuing there into and through the morning and into tomorrow afternoon, mostly moving out of here. And yes, that is a severe weather and possibly isolated tornado threat down there toward the coast with this. That's how dynamic, how strong this storm system is. We're going to take a brief break here so I can talk to Caleb and Gabe behind the scenes, kind of structure how the rest of this night looks. We're going to look at some of those power outages from Fort County Electric and get a final look from Caleb there. So I can see, is he locked up or is he concentrating? I think Caleb might have left us. Looks perfectly fine. It's been a long day. You know, you've had a long day. It's going to be a long night. More after this as Mississippi Live weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center in 60 seconds.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Okay, welcome back here into the Room to Room Weather Center as I make it actually look like it's supposed to. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Loffon. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather, the late edition. Again, Ice Storm 2026, gotta get my years right, has been rough so far, and it's only actually going to get a little more rough from here. We're going to bring Gabe back in, and Caleb will go outside and take a kind of final check of what you're... Actually, Caleb, you've been monitoring some things behind the scenes as well. We don't necessarily need to go outside. It doesn't look like things have changed a lot there. You know, what have you been monitoring? I know you've been looking at social media and some other things, kind of what's going on. I know that we're up to 5,000 without power in Tisch County, according to the Adrian North Mississippi Storm Chasers. Unfortunately, all those numbers are going up. So what do you got?
Well, I've been kind of looking at both power outages and just the latest HER model, especially for Golden Triangle region, especially because that's something I've been tracking all week long, and just the freezing rain potential with us being in that freezing layer area. How much warm, drier air are we going to see, and if that can shift more southern and how much that changes our forecast. So just keeping in tabs with that, we saw those models kind of increase as we went throughout the afternoon hours, especially seeing some of that accumulate on some of those trees that I showed in my backyard. Thankfully, kind of starting to see somewhat of a downward trend. So starting to dial back just a little bit as we get ready for those overnight hours ahead, which is definitely some good news for us here in the Golden Triangle region. But something that I want to continue to reiterate for all of us here in Starkville and in the southeastern portion of our viewing area, that this system isn't done yet. I know some of us have already been through the peak. Some are experiencing it right now, but we're going to be witnessing and experiencing this just a little bit later than everybody else. We still have the potential for some freezing rain in our morning hours, and especially once those temps drop tomorrow and drop below freezing. I mean, you can already see how wet the ground is, and adding some more weight to trees can make them even more prone to fall. So definitely something that we want to continue to take seriously. And I know, Matt, that that's going to be something that all of Starkville is prepared to do as they went through, did their grocery runs. Everyone's trying to stick in place. And I know people were out and about for the basketball game, but knowing that, hey, it's getting to us a little bit later, they're starting to kind of close on up, hibernate, stay indoors, and stay put for our Saturday night and get ready for the Sunday ahead. So that's kind of what I have going on for us out here. I know for those tuning in just a few minutes ago on my last shot, it's very still wet outdoors, but we're not really seeing those freezing conditions falling into the flower bed, showing that it's not really freezing, forming those icicles. So that's a good thing to see as we continue wrapping up our Saturday night and prepare for the overnight hours ahead.
Okay, that's our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut there, again in the Golden Triangle area. Okay, you're done tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the posts. You know, thank you for all your hard work today. I'll see you bright and early at 6:30 in the morning tomorrow, and we'll get through whatever
Sounds
this
good.
is. And Mr. Maynard, I am not working on Monday, so I'm gonna make sure that I try to cut you loose as early as possible tomorrow. I'm not coming in on Monday. Just kind of a heads up. I love how I say that on Caleb's shot, so I can give Gabe a chance to react before I come into Gabe.
Well, Matt,
I know there's another
with
system
that
this
statement.
week. We're just not getting into that.
I mean, I may not be able to work Monday. That's the only thing.
Oh God, I didn't even. Oh. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I see Caleb
It's
up
not
there.
that I don't want to.
Call him in. Put me in, coach. He's ready to play. That's a lot of numbers. I've watched the Fort County map is one that was one of the first power cooperatives here to have the ability to see power outages. I mean, when I first moved here, I was like, "That's a thing," and they've been so far ahead over the years. There have been very few times I've seen that many individual hexagons there on their map. That's not good.
And the thing that gets me on this is well, the number of outages that you see on the side of your screen right there. We are up to 3,600 outages across the four-county coverage area, and that primarily is Choctaw, Webster, up there towards Chickasaw, Clay, and even a little bit in the Starkville area. So, Caleb, don't count your blessings just yet. I hope that you stay with power because a few outages being reported around there as well. But where the most significant outages are occurring is right around the Ackerman area. And if we zoom that in a little bit closer, you can see some of those totals. And whenever we're talking about this outage map, and I know these numbers are going to be one of the first we see, oh my word. Oh my word. That start time for these folks right here, this 258, that has been going since 4:30. That's 7.5 hours of being without power and all of this mess. And there's other parts in there that are, since 7 o'clock, that are since 8 o'clock. Like, this is a good chunk of time, Matt, but seven
But
and a
here's the
half
thing,
hours. And honestly,
I would not say it like that, Gabe, because there are going to be people that are out of power for 7 days and possibly weeks. So
yeah.
7.5 hours in what is, and I rubbed my eye and I shouldn't have, so I apologize for that. But 7.5 hours in what's going to be possibly power outages for a week plus for some folks, and it's going to be a lot colder then. God willing, those people might be some of the first to get it back on because they were first to go out. They might have got lucky, believe it or not. That 7.5 hours might pay dividends in the end.
We're also talking about, look at the scroll bar.
Yeah.
Look at how thin that is. And, I don't know how many specific outages there are, like how many specific sources there are. But whenever you have a scroll bar that is that small. Do what?
It's 117.
Wait, how'd you see that?
Okay, on the graph on the far left-hand
sure
side,
enough.
it says outage total.
Sure enough. See, I was about to go in through and count all that, but yeah, I guess now 116, so they fixed one of the outages, but it's still 116 individual outages that they have to go do and to go handle, and they're dealing with conditions like what's outside of my house right now. It sounds like a downpour of ice, straight ice that's just coming down and adding another layer of glaze earlier on, and I'm going to work to pull it up behind the scenes. Actually, I think I can just do it here real quick. So, let me refresh this. It was one of the more recent posts that was sent over on Facebook, and it was which we've gotten a lot, right here. So here you're getting a look at power crews that are out and about trying to fix this line right here that has been knocked over because of these trees that have fallen. Okay, look at the trees. My trees don't look like that. I don't, at least not normally. So that shows the weight that they're carrying, and that looks like a sweet gum, actually, now that I'm looking at it. I'm not the brightest whenever it comes to plants, though, so I might be wrong on that. But that looks similar to my tree out here. And we're talking about that type of tilt. And right after this picture was taken, this was taken by Jake, submitting this on Facebook. You can see that they tilted and then eventually fell over, and that's where power crews are out working. Jake letting me know that he went and thanked the power cooperative for being out there and working and fixing this, but they said they're going to stay out and work as long as they can until the weather just requires them to be pulled. And I don't think that's too far off from that time frame as we get into these late night hours and some potential convective ice works its way into the forecast. This was in Algoma. So that's what we're talking about weighing down these trees, weighing down these lines. And it's doing exactly that before what potentially will be the heaviest part of the line moves in.
Yeah, well, hoping that's not the case, but there's decent chances that could be. Appreciate that, Gabe. Meteorologist Gabe Maynor. You want to tag out? You ready for it to call it a night? You want to keep going a little longer?
If you don't need me, but I will stay if you need a helping hand.
Okay, are you logged into the switcher?
Yeah, I was. Not anymore.
So go ahead. We'll wait until I'm off your shot. We'll log you in the switcher, and then I'll bring you back up. I'm going to go do a live shot outside and kind of check what we have here as well. That sound good?
I'm curious if there's any trees down at your house just yet.
I didn't see any, but we're going to take a quick look here. We're not going to walk under many, but we're going to go take a quick look. So go ahead and get logged into the switcher. Kind of wave me on when you're ready for that. We'll kind of go from there. Sound good?
Sounds good. We can make it
Okay,
happen.
meteorologist Dave Maynard there again. We're watching Mississippi live weather here at just past midnight on the 25th. This is now the third day, though a little over 24 hours, where we have had wintry precipitation falling here across North Mississippi. Outages. Again, this has become trended to be the weather story. This is Entergy. Entergy does not have a big footprint for most of Northeast Mississippi, but as you can see here, just look at this here quantity of outages. This is in the Monroe, Louisiana area, Monroe and West Monroe. Just lots of issues. You can tell again where the ice was the most significant moving into Mississippi. And the Mississippi Delta, again, south of Greenwood. They're kind of west of Starkville, obviously. Locations in our area, we've talked about Vaden, French Camp, Kilmichael, Winona, all with power outages. Some small, some larger, but all going to take quite a bit of time to come back. Yazoo City, then close to Rolling Fork. I do wonder if our Rolling Fork camera is still working. That would be interesting and hopeful, but there's quite a few outages there close to Hollandale as well. Let's see if this is an updating image. Oh, but it is. And before this one goes, hold on. So look at our camera here in Rolling Fork and look at that tree. You see, yeah, it's sad when you have a town that lost so many trees, in a big tornado a couple of years ago. That makes precious the older trees. They're still there, and yet in this one, their ice is kind of pulling them down and breaking them down. I'm going to pull up our camera there behind the scenes. Let's see if I'm able to move it, and I might have lost. Some of these cameras, they've gotten frozen in place. Let's see if we can go down a little bit. See if it'll go. It did. Oh, it did. Well, I want to look at that tree because that definitely looks like it is partially. It just doesn't look very good, does it? I'm trying to figure out if it has some limbs that have already fallen on it. It does, I think. Look at the bottom side of that there. Yep, we've already got some limbs that have fallen on that tree. And that's what you kind of expect, right? You're going to expect that because when they're drooping down that much, and you can see, and it looks like a weeping willow, and it's not a weeping willow, right? Those probably an oak tree. And just how it's kind of peeled apart there, and then the limbs already pulled down on it. Now I'm looking at some of the power lines there in the foreground. Hopefully, I don't know how high up those power lines are based on this, but I mean clearly this tree here has lost some limbs. Yeah, not a good sign there. So yeah, more trees again. That's what I'm showing you something, by the way, that I have not seen from this event personally yet, but clearly many of you are seeing at home right now with trees cracking, power out, trees falling. And so, my thoughts and prayers are with you guys tonight as you're going through this. I live in the middle of a forest, so it really is kind of a matter of time before we have a similar issue here in kind of the north central portion of Lee County. If you want to see if there's maybe some other trees there having some issues. But yeah, that one clearly some branches have already been knocked down. Hopefully the majority of that tree is able to kind of survive in better shape than that. I wonder if Winona, again, we had some power outages there in Winona. Power back on 371 River Road area back there. That would be in Wamba County. That's excellent to hear. So glad to hear that, again, crews are trying hard to get this back on as quickly as they can, but it takes time. It takes time to make that happen. I'm going to look at our cluster of cameras here across North Mississippi, most of which all show ice on the lenses. Let's go with this Winona camera. Oh, excuse me. That's my first yawn all day. Apologize for that. Let's kind of see if this one can break free or this one's stuck. It's got vertical movement. I might make it very unhappy. Yep, it does not have horizontal movement, unfortunately. That's fine. I was trying to really kind of see how that tree was behaving there. But, I mean, clearly, as you can see, icicles right there on the lens. So it's not like things are going swell there. In Ackerman, looks like we're fogged in largely there in Ackerman. Low cloud base on that. And as we go up to Maben, Maben's a good one for us to check because Maben is just maybe just a little bit cooler, but it's also right there on one of the big transmission lines. And you can see some of the ice showing up on that as well. That'd be what we're looking at right there. Again, some of the icicles and stuff coming off the tower there. I'm going to kind of look down. I'm going to check and see kind of how that one still has movement. That one does still have movement. Again, we're kind of looking in the dark, and you know what? It occurs to me that part of the reason we're looking in the dark is because there are power outages out there in Webster County. Current time is 12:10 a.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside of meteorologist Gabe Maynor looking out of a camera here in Maben at power outages that are starting to increase. I think if I go to the right here, I should be able to swing it back toward the city of Maben. Yep. Take another look at there. Are we going to make it? There we go. Going again. This might be the one. Now we have battery backup here at the house, and Gabe, right there, you can see the lights going above my head. You think we'll really be done by 6 p.m. today? I think that travel will still be hazardous at 6 p.m. I think the ice will still be around at 6 p.m. I think the trees will still be falling at 6 p.m. But I do not think that additional wintry precipitation will be occurring at 6 p.m. Hope that answers that question. I hope we get to finish this conversation. That was a bunch of back-to-back pings there that we had. I'm going to pull up. I think I have Tom Bigby, Electric Power Cooperative, here behind the scenes. See how close this is to me on all sides. Because we've got it just to the north. Got it just, I'll be honest, we've got some in our area, but where on the map, if I'm looking specifically behind the scenes, I've got 2 outages in my area, but might not be specifically right over my house yet. Appropriate word being yet. Okay, you guys, of course, you've been supporting us conversation-wise, anything on Winston County. Winston County is a great question, and I ought to be asking you. You got anything Winston County there, JC? And that's not me trying to be, tongue-in-cheek or anything like that. That's just as power keeps flickering here at the house. Only a matter of time. Radio stations B100 and Q92 have great cameras in our town. They do. Those I believe that's probably the Grenada cameras are. In the very beginning, there's some question of whether or not we can show them. We have not gone further with them. We need to have that conversation again with them about that. No power in Furs, flickering a lot of other folks. Man, to a certain extent, when it flickers, that's actually the system working. That's breakers and switches that are going back and forth on that there as they're trying to keep the power back on. It's only a matter of time. And I'll say this again for you. If your power goes out, do not watch us. Save your battery power. You're going to need it because it might be hours, might it be days. Okay, Gabe, question is, are you in the switcher? You are? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this back to my typical, as we'll say, raw live shot. Let me click the right live shot here. And so that way when I switch to you, you'll just hit merge to come back to me and then come back to you. If any of that made sense, good. I think it all made sense. You know how this works. So let's see here. Let's go with that one and merge back to there. Again, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist Gabe Maynor. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather here at, where are we at? About 12:13 a.m. I'm looking out there in Maben. And the Mississippi Live weather radar continues to show, again, icing conditions spreading through the area. I'm going to come back again to kind of our local radar on this. Again, there's clearly more on the way. There's clearly quite a bit that's falling right now. Mentioned Grenada, some other folks out there, and one of that band that just kind of came through the last little bit. I'll put this into a loop mode here, Gabe, and I'll let you kind of talk about some power outages. And when you see me finally on, you can go ahead and come out to me here in a second. But our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, again, we're not going to two-box this so it comes back right. But looking power outages, Tishomingo County, easily one of the hardest hit, and numbers continue to increase.
Matt, and I'll be watching for your live shot to come up so that way we can, of course, merge that over. But stay safe out there. I have heard here in the last 2 minutes 5 limbs fall. So, and that's all like right outside my house. And we don't live in as many trees as Matt does. So if we're getting 5 here, he's probably getting 10 over there. So stay safe. But all of those trees resulting in the outages that are occurring across North Mississippi, right here in Tishomingo County, I mean, you can see that number still hovering. Is that right? 5,600? Yeah, or just under 5,600, 54 total outages. But all of those are very large outages. I mean, you see that one up there. Let me make sure this isn't split between a couple. Yeah, 1.1 thousand. That's been out for 4.5 hours. I have to sneeze. I see, sneezing should be reserved for the spring. Winter, I should be free from allergies. I don't know why it's joining me tonight. I apologize for that. But yes, so 1.1 thousand outages there on the north side. That's going to be
That close to being able to go outside and show you. I'll bet big bucks. Good old Gabe Maynor just lost power. You lose it. I figured as much. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. And you know what, folks? We are, yeah, because I see that. Hold on. That's kind of going behind the scenes. Are we still good over here? That's gotten slow. It's gotten slow and jiggy. I wonder if that also... Okay, Gabe, good night. Good luck. If y'all need anything, let us know. Not that we can really do much, all right? Okay, we'll look forward to it. Bye. Thank you for all your hard work today. You did a great job. Bye. Goodbye. Well, that's something. So next question, I need you to check and see if the stream's okay. If you could, please. If it is, because this seems like it's gotten a little slower. I don't know, maybe 6 to 7 seconds. It's not that long. No electricity, power talk. Okay, they say we're good. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put on my jacket. We're going to go outside and look. I'll turn on. Got a lot of floodlights around here, and I want to see what it looks like out there in this. We're going to be safe. But, you know, we do live in a forest. So, couldn't hurt. And I'm going to make sure that I get my phone on 5G before I go out there so it doesn't detach from the network. So give me just a moment here. Get that off. Get connected. You're about to connect to my phone. And we'll just kind of, typically we do this behind the scenes. We might as well just do it live on air. Okay, this is what my gizmo looks like that I show on air when I do all my live shots. It's got a nice long extension there, so I can get it farther away and hopefully show you all the things you want to show you. Okay, just a moment here. Things will probably jostle. Make sure we're good. Looks like we are good. Okay, hey y'all, we're good right there as well. Let's go take a look. And again, I'm not going to be able to kind of see your chat or anything like that. I'm going to make sure all of the floodlights are on. I'm also going to... oh, I hit everything but the floodlight. I'm going to get a light that I can shoot with. Give me a moment. Don't think...
Okay. Give me a moment. That should connect. Is it still good? No, it's still good right now. There we are. Okay. Well, let's go spotlighting, shall we? We've got some in particular I know are going to come down the driveway. Let that thing get charged up and going. And I'll kind of show you alongside with me. I'll put my hood on. Might as well. I'll stay out from under some of these, so give me a moment. Okay, and you're watching Mississippi Live Weather, where since I own it, I can't say I can't do it. Oh, I guess only I can say I can't do it. Well, Mrs. Lawpon does have an opinion or two from time to time. I got ice on the roof here. Again, I don't have a whole lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Icicles and things. No, not really showing up there. A whole lot around. I have not heard a whole lot of trees break, and I guess the best way to do this is just to kind of shine it over my shoulder, maybe like that. Nope, that's also not working. This plan was not well thought out, was it? What I'm looking for is I'm going to flip this around. Give me a second here. I'm going to redo this, and I'm going to shoot it here in a second where it uses the other camera. So hold on just a moment. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. This heavier band just hit, and so I decided rather than just lose an iPhone to the freezing whatever, we're not going to do that. Trying to see there. Have not heard really any booms out where we're at. Again, I do have some backup power at my spot, and I do have some trees that I'm looking for some issues with. This one in particular, it's one of my favorite ones. It's a little too close. Well, I heard one there a second ago. That one there in the distance is going to go. It died in the drought a couple years ago, right there. I'll bet we've already probably lost some. I'm not going to walk under any. I'm going to stay kind of over here, but there's a couple I'm watching. Again, small limbs. Yeah, okay, over there. We've got some that we're losing that are down. I can still get down the driveway, though, but I'm not going farther out than that. Doesn't look like my pine trees are overly covered. Well, that one is. Yeah, that one's leaning. That one's going to go. Well, that's part of it, right? So, okay. Hold on. Is the whole thing frozen? No. Okay. Okay. Well, give me a moment here. I'm going to flip it around. Well, give me a second. I'm going to get you back on the real feed here. So we have a few trees. I'm sorry that I had you basically right in my face. I'll get you back on the real feed and we'll start talking more about what you have. So give me just a second here to do that. I'm going to put it down. I'll stay you down there for a second and let's hit refresh, shall we?
And we're back. So anyway, thanks for going with me on a trip to figure out how many issues I had. I think we are, at least in the Lawpon household, so far more fortunate than a lot of folks are. Current time is 12:23. Gabe Maynard's out for the night. Maggie is actually getting sleep because one of us has to think straight tomorrow. Caleb is out. And you're stuck with me for at least a little bit longer. I do think we're going to probably shut things down here pretty soon. So ultimately at some point we just have to kind of shut things down and say, okay, what's it look like for tomorrow? And that's what I think we're going to do here in a few minutes. But I do know we have, again, one more round of, whatabouts, as I sometimes say. What about this location? What about that location? And I'll be honest, sometimes I'm a little bit insensitive to those, but I'll tell you I'm not in this scenario because I understand the anxiety and fear that can kind of go along with an ice storm. And people remember the worst that has happened before. Um, and hopefully this is not on that end. I'll bring that chat back up. Well, no, I gotta click over here, and now I'll bring that chat back up. Apparently not. I might have lost. Did I lose connection to that? 12:15. I did. When Gabe went out, I lost connection to that computer because, oh, I'll bet his connection took my connection down to the switcher. But hey, we're still on. You know, of all the things that should have knocked us out today, that should have been the thing. Okay, let's see if we can get back in. No power Hickory Flat. TVA also said they're stopping restoration services for the night and will continue in the morning. You know, no one wants to hear that. You know, now almost 6,000 people without power in Pontotoc County. You know, no one wants to hear the fact that, you know, TVA is going to stop restoration for the night. And I get that. And, you know, but sometimes you have to make the hard but right choice, says the guy who has power and clearly internet. So, you know, take that for what that's worth. But you want to make sure that you protect your people so that the goal is to get as many people back on starting tomorrow and as it quits as possible before it gets really, really cold. And sometimes working through the night tonight could put people more at risk, put equipment at risk that limits restoration efforts for tomorrow. Unfortunately, I will say this: like there are a lot of other electric cooperatives, you know, that do have the ability to kind of report back. You know, I mentioned Tom Bigby. That's my local electric power cooperative that I, you know, talked to. That's why we talked to Scott Hendricks with Ed, you know, a couple times with this week. We just have kind of a working, you know, kind of understanding over the years here. They're talking about, you know, 2,600 folks without power. And if you just look at the number of individual outages, that continues to increase. You know, this is probably the one that took Gabe out. Now this is kind of a joint outage of 1,300 people. That's more than a couple. Let's check here. Golly, they're up to 8,700 members out. Now, update. Now 9,800 people, 9,800 members. There might be more people than that, but 9,800 members with the Northeast Mississippi Electric Power Association without power. If you're one of those folks and you're watching here, they are aware that you're without power. They'll get to you as quickly as they can. But the thing is look how many ones there are on this graphic. I mean, I would say there's more ones than any other number. And that means only one person at that spot out. And each and every one of those calls, takes time. And that's what then extends this to take days and hopefully not weeks. But there are crews. Again, we talked about President Trump freeing up money, freeing up FEMA to be able to kind of help out and take care of things. So that's good news. I know for a fact there have been resources that have been staged in states around us preparing for this. So hopefully that means good things for us in our area. It is just going to take time. And as I see someone mentioned there in the chat, 5,900 folks, Pontotoc County now, stretching back there into parts of northern Calhoun County, 5,800 people, customers, outages. So that is not people. You know, there's a multiple on that, whether it's 2 or 3 people per outage. There's a multiple that goes on that there, unfortunately. So power outages continue to spread. And if you don't have power, or if you still have power yet, you're one of the lucky ones. Let's see the folks down there at Fork County Electric, and they are a little luckier than most. Right now, 141 individual outages, which is, again, more individual outages than they had before. Total number of people now affected, we're looking at about 3,700. Fork County Electric Power Cooperative, again, about that number that will continue to increase. Natchez Trace Electric Power Association, they're at about 1,800. I'm going to refresh that just to make sure that's That's a newer number there. Again, that would be kind of the rest of Calhoun County, south there into parts of Chickasaw County and much of Webster County. Number of decent sized outages there. Close to look like Walthall, around Eupora, close to the Cumberland area. That's Natchez Trace Parkway, so I guess be on the other side of the Natchez Trace from Cumberland. Entergy, those numbers, see how that is continue to progress. Unfortunately, just a lot of individual outages with there as well. I don't think I had Tishmingo on that list. I'm going to go to kind of our poweroutage.us here. I'm going to get Tishmingo because Tishmingo has unfortunately been leading the way. And again, I think my graphic here is way behind. This is the one problem with this poweroutage.us site that I use this to pull up individual cooperative sites, which are more accurate. And yeah, they're down a little bit. That's improvement, actually. Got 6,300 people that are affected and 52 total outages there in Tishmingo County. And it stretches north to south across the entire county. So, again, the outages will continue and, unfortunately, possibly multiply. We were talking Prentiss County earlier there. Prentiss County EPA. We don't have their list up. We might as well just kind of pop all these up as well. 1,900 outages there, including around Boonville, back to the northwest. Let's see where we're missing. I don't know if we have anything from Union County. I don't think we did have Northeast. We didn't have Tippett EPA. About 1,000 folks with Tippett EPA out. Most of those, again, in Tippah County. Some back in Benton County as well. So if your power is out, you are in good company. And I'm going to shut this down because I think it's actually the responsible thing to do. Not because I necessarily want to shut this down, because I know there's folks out there that are worried and scared and anxious. But I do know that scared and anxious, worried people sometimes just keep watching because it's better than sitting in the dark. So I'm going to tell you this, it's probably better to go to bed and wake up tomorrow morning and everything to hopefully be at least what it is. But if we give you kind of a one-over on this forecast here real quick, and we'll look at an updated look at the ice fall totals here in just a moment. We showed you that one a minute ago. The alerts remain the same as they have. Again, ice storm warnings in effect for most locations here across North Mississippi. We've talked about these, and the expectation with this here in the Room Groom Weather Center for almost a complete week. Are we waiting for another round of accumulation in Boonville? Yes. If so, how much is expected? We still have power at this time. Thank you and your family for caring so much. Well, we thank you guys for caring so much. I got fired last year. You people stood up for me, and I appreciate that. And that's something that I don't forget. And while things ended up working out for a while back there, this opportunity opened up so that we could do things like this, and I wouldn't have to ask anybody, hey, can I stay on? If we felt like we needed to, we would do that. When will it be over? I'll answer that first. About noon on the early end, probably about 1 to 2 o'clock on the east end for tomorrow should be the end of this. But that's not 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning. That is basically 12 hours from now on the early end. So we still have 12 hours of potential icing to go, which is why if you still have power, the odds are good. If you're in, again, what we have kind of called the, peak impact zone. If you're in this peak impact zone, again, we do have some that are outside of that as well, but if you're in this peak impact zone, we've been talking about, again, this is the exact same graphic that Maggie and I worked on after the morning show early Thursday morning. We showed all day Thursday, showed it all day Friday, we showed it all day today, haven't changed a thing. I say that to say that hopefully you have been prepared. And we never want to scare people. But we came out with a hard line on this because we thought what's happening now could happen. So if you're in this zone here, additional impactful icing is still on the way. Let's look at kind of the latest version of our Futurecast here, kind of picking things up an hour from now on Futurecast through tomorrow morning. Apparently I did not put pause points in this, so we're going to go back and kind of watch it a little more slowly than that. So let's kind of revert to where we're at here and kind of walk through what we have going on. And so as you can see, again, more icing on the way. And we have these little pockets here. Again, that represents that sort of convective, think more bubbles as opposed to stratiform sort of precipitation that will be icing for many. As you can see, same spots, doesn't get so rough, continue to get as we head into overnight hours here. And so we do anticipate we will continue to have icing, and it could be significant. Notice the time here, though, 11:30 to noon time. We've been pretty consistent. That's when we're shutting things off. I said 2, just in case we wrap down just a little bit here on the back side. Half of Ecru has power out. And I appreciate JJ for your optimism there. I will say this about we run this chat. I think more than I anticipated I would. It's probably not going to be up like this all the time during severe weather, but this is winter weather, and as I've described it, this is a slow-moving train wreck as opposed to a fast-moving one. But all of that to say that we appreciate the support that you've given us. But you have to reach out to these people and go to their businesses, whether it's Eat With Us, whether it's Absolute, whether it's True Shield, and the many more that you've seen there, like Exceed. You need to go to their businesses. You need to try to use their services, and you need to tell them that you saw them here. And if you do that, we can keep doing this. Because unfortunately, on a night like this, where it sounds like gunshots out there, this is what we built this for, so that we could do this now. And I think we've got some of the streaming issues we had finally figured out. Because one of the problems is there's so many of you trying to make sure we could support that, which is very humbling, honoring, and hopefully we do right by you. So kind of revert here again. Lots and lots more on the way. Unfortunately, icing that continues throughout the overnight hours. I mean, as you can see, same spots that have seen it, keep on seeing it. And then it spreads farther east at the very end. We still have some icing potential, maybe a little bit of sleet. I don't know that very end is going to be super duper. Hopefully it's not. And then maybe wrapping around just a little something. So what are we looking at for ice fall accumulations? Another way to say that, what are we looking at for additional freezing rain for the rest of this? I'm going to stop this for a second. There's one thing I realized on the last one that I hate with Sander on some of these. They turn off this darkness. I don't like that. I don't really understand the point. Okay. Now, let's play through this. So this is in addition. See, if we revert this back to basically right now, and double set time settings here, let's go right down to hour 0. Right? And if we go hour -1, see if he'll do that. He'll do that. Last hours, -1. There we go. That basically takes me back to initialization on this. So as you'll note here, the icing is expected to continue. And unfortunately, between now and the time many of us wake up tomorrow morning, estimations are that we could have an additional, in addition to what we have here, an additional inch of ice in many spots. And I gotta apologize, Greenville. I want to send like a thank you note or something, or a fruit basket to somebody, because I've stood over top of you the entire night, and you guys have gotten hammered. I want to check out the Greenville camera here in a second, but the takeaway is this. Between now and the time you wake up tomorrow morning, number one, well, a lot of us will probably lose power. Huh? No, I didn't hear that. Yeah, probably. Probably right back there. I mean, it's only a matter of time. Our power's going to go out too. Just like yours. If you're watching right now, your power is probably going to go out. Now, hopefully it's for minutes and not days. Are you sure it wasn't a tree? It sounded... Yeah, you're right. You're right. So you want the bad news about this graphic next to me here? I'm only through 8 a.m. Let's go beyond 8 a.m. It doesn't add a ton more there. In some spots it does add more. But yeah, between now and the end of this, we could be talking about an additional inch and a half of ice for some spots. I mean, come on. That half inch of ice, almost half inch of ice that has there in Starkville, is about as much freezing rain as anybody has experienced in my time in Mississippi. Listen to that boom too. I thought I heard something. Now I'm just hearing things. So tomorrow morning we're going to do our first cut-in starting at 6:30 a.m. I mean, unless something absolutely catastrophic that I haven't visualized happens, and I don't even know what that would be. 6:30 a.m. So if you're losing power, I would recommend. There's no alert that we're going to send to your phone that's going to say anything that really helps you out. So I'd recommend powering off your phone, but charging it up. If you've lost power, power it off, because it just in the background as it's trying to get the cell phone powers, that helps drain the battery on it as well. So I maybe this is the wrong move, but I would say it makes sense to shut it down and let it retain what power it has so we don't use up that power. Lost power for about a minute in Saltillo near Barnes Crossing. Well, that's not that far away. Let's do a round robin of power outages here. I did want to check out that camera in Greenville. Again, I apologize that that my graphics all have me standing over Greenville. We're going to have to figure that out by severe weather season. See, that still has me standing over Greenville. It's the right view? That's not the right view. That's right. There. Yeah. See? Arm down. Greenville exists. You guys have had it pretty rough out there. And I'm luckily, there we go. Unfortunately, you see what changed there? That's a little more ice on the lens now. As that updated. Still power. That's bonus in comparison to a lot of spots. Yeah, I am shocked we haven't lost more of these power outages as well. Cleveland, again, very little to view. Completely iced over. Because we work our round robin up the Delta at this point here. Now we're up to Shelby. Again, completely iced in. As we come up a little farther there to the Clarksdale area, this should wait a second to update. I'm going to watch this real closely because this does take a second to pull in the data. And I don't see any additional tree limbs in the foreground there down because I don't think they've had as much freezing rain. I think theirs has been primarily sleet. Yours has been primarily sleet there. I'm going to see the bridge over the Mississippi River. I remember watching a person going up and wasn't really sure they were going to make it earlier on. Bring down our camera list there. Well, they have lights on. I don't see anybody thinking they're going to go uphill on that, so that's an improvement. And again, one of the monitors there is iced over. As we look, Crenshaw iced over. Again, that close to Senatobia. God willing, our meteorologist Maggie McCauley has power tomorrow morning. Come on over to Batesville. Again, we've had. I don't know if we show power outages for Panola County. Now that I say that, we've got them all the rest of them in here ready to go, and I don't know that we've had Panola County. Again, we're 2,700 customers out there in the Union County area, Lafayette at 7,100 cumers. I don't think I had Tallahatchie Valley EPA on that. Let's get that up and going. Pop that up here for a second. In Batesville, again, still have a decent amount of power there, but this is just what gets me. All the ones, right? When we do severe weather coverage, it made that mad. The map doesn't like it because it's like single outages. Like I don't have any virtual memory for that. I mean, out there, Yalobusha County, Southern Lafayette County. This really is one of the hardest hit zones there. As I'm going to kind of go back to my list here and find. There's it at. All right, it's going to be the last one, right? It's always the last one to check. We were at 9,800 customers of the Northeast Mississippi Electric Power Association. Let's go ahead and refresh that now that I've got that up. And they're still at 9,800, just under 10,000 customers. I'm gonna check North Mississippi storm chasers. Power flash or lightning. Is the camera recording? Neighbor's transformer just blew. You know, that's the stuff they're talking about. Now this is different and important. North Mississippi Storm Chasers, James Bishop with North Mississippi Storm Chasers, the Inverness and Sunflower EMA are they are, and this would be about less than 10 minutes ago, on the scene of a natural gas leak at the meter substation in Inverness. Atmos is notified. No evacuation is necessary, thankfully. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show this. Yes, exactly. That's what I had a minute ago. Straight downpour of of ice. I'm interested to see here. There's no good way. There's a good way. I'm gonna see it. No, this is no good. Best way to get this on the air. Let me think here. I'm gonna see if I can send this over one of my. Nope, I don't have that hooked up. We'll put that on Facebook. We'll share that on there. Kind of what looks like kind of like a fire going from a power line down there in the Burnsville area. That might actually be my best way to share it in a moment. Unfortunately, this has me on there. Actually, I don't know how to do it. I'll email it to myself. Mail. Yes, to send it. Okay, Downtown Pond Podcast, no power, Northeast Mississippi Power. Okay, I'm not going to pick on any of these electric power cooperatives, okay? Look at this. Look at the number of individual outages there. If I put a list of the individual outages, again, you're talking about, large portions of these counties. Union County, of the ones that they pay attention to that they have, you're now here at over 10,000 power outages. That's over 1/3 of their total customer base, and almost every one of them in Union County is out. That has nothing to do with what the electric power cooperative is doing or did do or could do. That's just something that happens in an ice storm. Again, we're at now 6,000 people at Pontotoc. Tom Bigby is now at 2,700. Refresh that, make sure that's the most recent data. Yep, 2,700. All around me, not overhead at the moment. 4,500 outages there in the folks with Fort County. They've gotten that down to 117 outages. Props to them. That's doing good. 1,800 there, Natchez Trace Electric Power Cooperative from Webster County through southern Calhoun, and in northern Calhoun, some spots there, including, it looks like, closer to Vardaman there, and between that and Calhoun City. Looks like largely the cities are in a little better shape. Yeah, Boonville, again, the number's up there to almost 3,000. And maybe the most effective way, we've now reached a high enough number on that while this is going to be a little behind, I think it, pretty effectively tells the story. So we're going to come back over here. So this is the percent of people per county out of power. Can you tell? Not can you tell? You can tell, obviously, where our ice storm warning is, right? The exact same counties that you see here. If I go back, not just there, but I'm going to keep coming back to this graphic here. Because I know there's going to be some smart, in there. It's like, well, you didn't. Same graphic we've shown for 3 days. And look at the almost complete overlap of there. Yeah, there's an extension, some sets of Clay County there. But, if you want to get nitty gritty on that, you look at Fort County's map. The majority of those folks are kind of western Clay County, which would be in that zone there. Let me check this here for a second. Not a lot of my folks still up this time of night. I do want to check something. This was kind of an odd thing from earlier today that I do think we need to kind of address. You know, the folks at the National Weather Service extending some flood warnings because of the heavy precipitation. In a moment, I'll pop that in here. That looks like Tibby Creek, I'm going to guess. Probably there. Clay County. That's usually what that one is. So we have that one. We have Buttahatchee. It looks like both with flood warnings. Again, not expected to be high-end flood alerts with this, but just a sign that, again, we've had a lot of moisture. We're going to have more moisture, and some of those flood-prone areas could have some flooding issues with that. That's part of the reason for that there. So power outages, we'll look at the percentages here. I'm just going to kind of click all over the map and give you some numbers. Partially just to say you're not alone, because it can feel like that when the power's out and you're not getting anybody to respond because they're responding to everyone else. I mean, come on. When you're talking about 26% of Tippah County, a third of people in Lafayette County, half of people in Union County, I mean, 12% is not a small percentage to have out, and this is fairly widespread, significant power outages for a lot of folks that probably is going to be lasting for a few days there. And unfortunately, you see going up, Choctaw County now up to 20%. So Union County, our unfortunate winner this evening. Trees are popping in Boonville. Bruce is out. Yeah. Okay, let's wrap things up. We're going to pray. We're going to go ahead and send you back to the 24-hour 7 stream. We will be back on. Here's my recommendation again. I'm going to say this again. I would highly recommend that you shut your phones off tonight. Now, if you want to, set some kind of alarm, maybe put it on airplane mode so it's not trying to ping cell phone towers that may or may not have data with them. As power collapses, there are generators on those towers, but there's a fixed amount of time until that those work. So all of that to say that the cell phone communication thing could get a little rough the next couple days as well. So keep your phones, if your signal's going down or if it's not able to connect, when your phone's trying to continuously make connections and it can't do that, it drains the power faster. So my recommendation is it's time to shut off the phones for tonight. Checking Caledonia and Columbus, I have not talked much about you. I will go there. Because again, I think, for lack of a way to put it, we've baked in what's going to happen in that primary risk zone here, right? We're going to have more ice. We're going to have more power outages. We're going to have more trees fall. We're going to have more limbs fall. We need to make sure we're toward, I would say it makes sense to be the middle of our structure just in case a tree falls into it. But certainly if you have that tree that's big, and even if it is not weak, and the storms are like if it's big and it's somewhat dying and yada yada, that's what we say, does not matter. A healthy tree can break and crack because of ice as well. Byhalia wants to know about Byhalia back there. We have not had a whole lot of issues for you. That's part of the reason. So let's go look at the edges here. We'll look back northwest. Again, you can clearly see where we've had more sleet as opposed to freezing rain, and where we've had more rain as opposed to sleet. And it is that middle zone there. My power keeps flashing. It's daring. It's like, I dare you to say something else. We're going to go. I hope my UPS there is protecting everything from blowing up. Let's look at the edges, and then we're going to wrap it up. My wife laughing in there at me. Promise, promise. And put on some of the lighter returns. So for the golden triangle out here, we're going to look at a couple of cameras. We should have our assessment. I am hoping to see a bigger number here in Macon, because in theory this should be going up, and it did. 39 in Macon. That's good for you. Tisch County, you're baked in. We're going to keep icing all night long. Macon, this is rain all night long. Congratulations on winning the North Mississippi Lottery of the Ice Storm of 2026 in Macon and Noxubee County. Columbus, check you out. You also have won a tight battle here, but you've largely won with primarily just rainfall there in Lowndes County. Congratulations there in Columbus. Let's check Caledonia. And again, foggy out there, wet roadways. Looking out here in Caledonia, and I'm looking specifically at what's behind me there. Make sure that's even updating. That is. That looks pretty good, all things considered. At 36 degrees, there's a good chance that unless we have some thunder sleet overnight, very much a possibility, that you're somewhat okay tomorrow morning. Let's go up to Aberdeen. Aberdeen sitting at 34. Right on the edge, in the fog. You have a little bit of ice, I think, starting to form on the camera lens there. Aberdeen, I do think you still have icing potential overnight. You're more likely, again, more susceptible if you get one of those freezing thunderstorm sort of situations. Amory, 34, but that's a little trickier for you. You're still more rainfall than anything else at this point, Amory, but I say that we've had power outages. Hold on. Let me go back to that power outage map for a quick second. And really, you guys, Monroe County's done very well. Props. That's Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Okay, let's check out the next one. We go up to Smithville. There's pretty much everything else kind of tells the story. We'll look back in Northwest Mississippi after this. Okay, Smithville, waiting for that update. Still updating. Still largely good there. Congratulations, Smithville. Doing okay. I am going to see if I can control that camera, and I'm going to zoom in on some power lines, make sure that there's not something there that's kind of catching us. Let's see here. That would be Smithville. I'm going to do it. I'm looking for, there we go. Look at the power lines right there. Oh, overshot it. Hold on. There we go. Good lined up. Check out these power lines here. We should have good light to be able to take a look at it. You can see that rate of falling as we go way in there. It's going to work on kind of try to get it. I don't see a whole lot hanging off of those. So far, Smithville, you are in the winners column. Hey, now I want to be clear here. Like, I'm not God. And so Tracy there, whoever's saying it's icing by the Lee Mall, it's entirely possible. I want to be clear that these reporting stations are not exactly where these cameras are. So it remains possible that person is correct, and maybe it is in fact not. It is in fact icing there. Listen, I'm going to trust. I would rather trust someone that says that it's icing as opposed to someone that says it's nice when it's not, right? Because if you say it's icing, people stay at home, which is the recommendation. And again, this is not me trying to scold anybody. This is just me kind of explaining my theory on this. I would rather people stay home when they could have traveled than travel when they should have stayed home. And I would say most of us are in that last category where you're more likely to travel when you should have stayed home. So let's stay home. Watching something on a portable DVD player. Now that is one way. Before we go, I got to look up Northwest. But the other thing I'll say is that the cool thing about 2026 America is if you have fiber, it's possible you still have internet even if you don't have power. If you can somehow get power to your router and your modem, you'll still have internet. Because a lot of those fiber lines are backed up at different places with battery backups. So it is still reasonable that you could have internet and not have power, even in my case, when the Electric Power Cooperative is your internet provider. As we look up here close to Memphis, and then this is where we're going to wrap things up toward Hernando, South Haven. Meteorologist Maggie McCauley kind of living up here, and I'm hoping she still is in good shape power-wise. We don't have a lot of power disruptions up there in Senatobia. Kind of a little bit of a dry fetch moving in. It's interesting this is coating in snow. We have not had a ton of reports of snow, but it's possible that could be producing some up there. And about the only place, by the way, we have actually had, some snow on this over the last, 6-8 hours is back up in here. Using our snow capabilities here on our system, I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning, look at the 48-hour snowfall. Man, Little Rock's got that much? Well, I've been so busy, I haven't even gone back and looked. That's a lot of snow, but I do think there's some ice that figures in with that. So I also think that, this is probably including some sleet. So I think a lot of what we have up here near the Tennessee state line is probably sleet more than snow. But you can see just in the last few hours ago, that's kind of expanded in because of that. So the overall kind of snowfall, a couple different ways of looking at that. Interested. 3 hour, 12-hour snowfall. Oh, that's the single site snowfall. Gotcha. Let's look at the mix. Clearly, we've all seen that. Unfortunately, let's see if this shows ice totals. Now this is interesting here. This might be worth us checking out. Give me a moment to change this to the site out of GWX, and we'll look back there. See kind of what this says. Icefall totals have been to this point. I don't know. You tell me. Does this seem reasonable based on where you're at? Somewhere around 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. I don't think that's unreasonable, especially based on kind of where we have. I'm going to leave this on the last moment there. Widen that so it has a few less roads on it. I don't think this is unreasonable on icefall amounts. I think it's a little high around Columbus, and maybe a little low in some spots. What do you think? Tell me in the comments next to me there. Is this accurate? Just kind of a yes or no where you're at. Yes, in the city you're in, if you can. Let me know. Do you think these numbers are accurate? Kind of helps me calibrate so I know next time kind of what this is about. Because part of the reason I think it might be trees falling into Albany seems pretty reasonable there, a response. So, let me know if you think it's reasonable based upon where you're at there. About a 1/2 inch buildup of ice on the truck. Let us know the location. That helps. But part of the reason I think that's reasonable is our heaviest power outages are some of the spots we're looking at here as well. It's going to kind of double up on some things there. It's not 8,000 3 times. It's just I clicked 3 times in there. But you have those most substantial power outages there in Union County, parts of Union County there, and Lafayette County, stretching up there toward Tippett County and Prentiss County. That is kind of the same sort of swath where we had the same sort of ice there. So I do think that's probably fairly accurate. I'm looking here. Oxford, Mississippi is your location. Appreciate that. 1/2 inch in the Carolina community. That seems reasonable. Road is icing over off of 45 by Lee Mall. Hey, I believe it, Jade. I think that's possible there because, again, we try to use the best information we can to make the best guess we can. But as I'm looking back toward Northwest Mississippi, perhaps these are accurate for you as well. So let's see. I do think some of this ice up here could include some sleet as well because this is kind of our ice mix product. Let's look at 24-hour snowfall. It does show as much as maybe 2 to 3 inches up here toward the Tennessee state line. Northern Tippett County. Hear my voice going up? No. We're also looking too far away from the radar site there. Let's change it to the Memphis radar. Yeah, that's not. I've seen nothing that says anywhere near that up near the Tennessee state line. So the ice accumulations have been good. For other spots, not as much. Looks like on that, and as you would imagine, icy snow cover the way you described most of this, and ultimately it's icy, pretty much all spots out there. Okay, Mystic Live Weather Radar, and then to finally answer that question, so someone was asking about Hernando up here. We have some but we have more on the way. And what you have is, again, that kind of mix. I would imagine that's probably kind of a sleet mix, maybe some freezing rain in there. It's pretty heavy band that just came through there. I think that's why our estimations are showing the snow that they're showing. But unfortunately, there is more on the way. And it will continue. And it will be heavy. And if you still have power, great. If you still have power at 6:30 tomorrow morning, you can watch us. We're going to be on starting at 6:30 a.m. With our latest updates here in the Room to Room Weather Center. We'll be giving you, updates related to, again, everything, including the potential for, icefall accumulations that do continue. We'll be reviewing what's going on related to all of the power outages and walking you through this situation, which obviously is not pleasant. And again, you guys have submitted a bunch of photos. I will look at the photos real quick because I did promise that, and then we're done. Or else, one thing we need in order to continue doing everything in Mississippi Live Weather, we'll be on at 6:30 tomorrow morning. We need Mrs. Lawpon to stay married to me. And I've said like 6 times I'm wrapping up, but you're going to get real mad in a minute. So, as we've said multiple times here again, wishing her a happy birthday. Some lines really drooping there on that picture coming in. That shot there was from, let's get the location. Where are we at? Right here. That was Saltillo. That's the reason we're starting to see, again, some more of those power outages. Again, trees drooping. The ones that have leaves on it like that have an issue. That picture coming from Okolona, branches breaking. Shot here, this from Broken Limbs, Gabriella there. Let's check the location that Gabriella sent that in from. Well, it's not wanting me to send it through the map. Yeah, Broken Limbs hitting the ground. Praise Jesus, no one below that one when that hit the ground. Does not look like that's going to show me that one on the map. Let's see what else we kind of have going down here. That's me. A lot of tree limbs down. This looks like a fairly substantial one. This is in the Cairo community. That's a tree that fell on this house. Whew. That's not what we want to see. But we know, again, and that might have been a healthy tree. That happens. That's the difference between this and storms from time to time, is that you're more likely to have healthy trees that are significantly damaged in an ice storm situation. That's a lot of ice. This one coming in here, Paul Henry. Let's check where he is at. He is in New Albany. I might have to go back here. There we go. Let's find that. And yeah, that's a pretty solid glaze, and unfortunately, just as much rainfall. A bunch of rainfall kind of coming down at the same time there. That one during the 11 o'clock hour. Trees drooping, falling. That one looks like it actually made it on the car. I appreciate Chloe from sending that in from the Blackline community, Prentice County. And the not pleasant stuff, unfortunately. There's one down the bottom here. We'll look at. This is ice weighing it down. Brianna sending us this picture here. This last one I think we'll wrap up with on this. Brianna, she is located in Bruce. Looks like she sent in a bunch of different photos here of different things. But this is the one that kind of caught my eye. Definitely weighed down by the ice. Has a big impact there. So, as we kind of wrap things up, the ice will continue. If you're asking, what about my location? The answer is yes. I would plan on additional ice. Now, we are hopeful for some folks around the Golden Triangle that maybe we've warmed up enough to slow it down for a little while. Our projections did have warmer air working northward, but that also means that this thunder, whatever this is, could be thunderstorms, could be thunder sleet, could be thunder something else, will also work its way northward as well, and higher totals could come, but it also might force the temperature up a little bit. But then it could also have wind gusts with it that cause their own issues. It's an unfortunate thing. There's really no easy way out of this. But I'm going to leave you with power outages. We have clearly more on the way, to the tune of more than an inch of additional ice. But power outages continue to stack up, and this is an ice storm that stretches across the region, and these numbers are probably going to go up overnight. In some cases, we have more than 50% of some counties without power, and that number will go up because this is a lot of individual outages. So tomorrow morning, starting at 6:30 a.m., Gabe's out of power. Caleb should be good in the Golden Triangle, so it'll at least be me and Caleb. But Maggie should hopefully be there. There aren't a lot of power outages in Tate County. She's gotten more sleep, meaning she's kind of missed the worst of it. But she'll be with us 6:30, 7:30 a.m. We thank you guys so much for subscribing, for liking us here on Mississippi Live Weather. If you're on Facebook or if you're watching on YouTube or one of these other places, you can like and subscribe, but please download the app. It certainly makes a difference on helping us be able to do this, support our sponsors, and just be safe, be kind to one another, be understanding, and pray for those people out there trying to hook the power back up tonight. They've got a really difficult job. To some, it's a thankless job, but just be nice to them. Be careful, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m.
As we move into storm season, here's something most homeowners don't realize after a storm. Roof damage isn't always obvious. Wind can lift shingles, breaking the seal. Hail can bruise them below, and flashing around chimneys and pipes can loosen without you ever knowing. That damage may not show up for months. If your area has strong wind or hail, a professional inspection will help bring you clarity before small damage turns into bigger problems.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.